Senate demands investigation into funds allocated for war against insurgency. Senate confirms Yakubu as INEC chairman. In international news, UN warns of rising HIV infections as a result of COVID-19. And in sport, Barcelona to hold presidential election January the 24th.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. The Senate has called for an investigation into how funds meant for war against insurgency were spent. This was disclosed in a motion sponsored by Senator Kashim Shettima, representing Borno Central Senatorial District, titled "The Heading of 67 Farmers in Borno by Boko Haram Insurgents Need for Urgent Decisive Action." The lawmakers are also insisting that the country's security heads should be replaced immediately. Many senators insisted service chiefs should be sacked as a way out of the insecurity in the country. Senator Shettima maintains that last Saturday's Borno killings were the fifth ugly mass killing incidents this year. Chairman Senate Committee on Army Ali Ndume lamented the Nigerian soldiers do not have enough weapons to win the insurgency battle in the northeast. Senate President Ahmed Lawan also condemned the killings of the Borno rice farmers. Now, Independent National Electoral Commission Chairman Mahmood Yakubu can continue as the Commission's boss after the Senate confirmed him on Tuesday for a second and final term. Yakubu was first appointed INEC Chairman in November 2015, succeeding Atairu Jega. Delta State Independent Electoral Commission has fixed March next year for elections into chairmanship and councillorship positions in the state. Commission Chairman Michael Ogbodu made the announcement after meeting with stakeholders and party chairmen on Tuesday in Asaba. Ogbodu says additional 34 wards was created to add to the existing 466 wards across the 25 local government areas in the state. The Commission Chairman approved immediate commencement of pre-election activities such as campaigns. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control (NCDC) has announced 281 new coronavirus infections in 13 states and the Federal Capital Territory. The total confirmed cases in the country have now risen to 67,838. As usual, Lagos recorded the highest number of infections with 123, while the Federal Capital Territory, Kaduna, and Imo states reported 64, 38, and 15 infections, respectively. The rest of the cases were shared among 9 other states. The agency said 148 patients have recovered from COVID-19 and have been discharged from different isolation centers in the country. 3 new deaths were recorded as a result of complications from the disease. President Muhammadu Buhari has ordered the release of mass transit buses to ease transportation challenges currently faced by Nigerians. The President directed the Minister of State Petroleum Resources to commence the process of handing over of the mass transit buses to organized labor as part of the government's pledge to continue providing support that will ease the transportation challenges facing Nigerians at this time. The President's Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, announced this at the virtual unveiling of the National Gas Expansion Program and National Auto Gas Rollout Initiative in Abuja. He said with a proven reserve of about 203 trillion cubic feet of gas, Nigeria is ranked 9th in the world. He also said the regulation of the downstream sector had exposed many to price volatility in the global market. The Central Bank of Nigeria has stopped Naira payments to recipients of diaspora remittances from international money transfer operators. The customers are now allowed to receive their funds through foreign currencies of their choice, including payment of the funds directly into domiciliary accounts. CBN says the new policy is expected to simplify and improve receipts and administration of diaspora remittances into the country. CBN Director for Trade and Exchange says recipients of these changes would help finance a future stream of investment opportunities for Nigerians in the diaspora, while also guaranteeing that recipients would receive a market-reflective exchange rate for their transactions. Coming up, African stories. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas visits Egypt to seek new peace deal as America gets new administration. And later, international stories. UN warns of rising HIV infections as a result of COVID-19.
You are watching ANN.
We are on the road every day, canvassing throughout Africa for news you really need. We follow this story everywhere, from every corner of Nigeria to the wide African expanse. We bring you what's making headlines. We connect you with news you can use. ANN, African News Network, in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas has begun diplomatic maneuverings in his region ahead of discussions with the incoming American administration. He met on Sunday with the Jordanian king and left immediately for Cairo on Monday for talks with his Egyptian counterpart. Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Correspondent Abdi El Marouki reports.
The first trip for Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas following the U.S. elections was with the leaders of Jordan and Egypt. The two nations are adjacent to the West Bank and Gaza Strip respectively. They remain among the most influential nations in the Palestinian conflict. Abbas's visit aims to look into how a Biden administration would affect a peace deal with Israel.
Honestly, Palestinians were happy with Trump's defeat in Biden's election. For long, the change in U.S. administrations did not introduce any changes in the conflict, whether it's Democrats or Republicans. We were indifferent. But Trump created chaos. He, a Zionist administration, violated given principles in the Palestinian crisis. But during the campaigns, Biden said he believes in a two-state solution, which is acceptable. Will he be able to do so? That won't be easy.
Trump's surprising policy for the Palestinian file has seen the U.S. move its embassy in Israel to Jerusalem. U.S. funds to UN bodies supporting Palestinians have also been frozen. That has pushed the Palestinian Authority to seek other brokers for peace with Israel.
Abbas is working with Cairo to hold an international conference for peace. There are communications between the Palestinian Authority and the Quartet about approaching Biden for that conference. Egypt has a major role in the international community, so talking with Egypt and its leadership is important. Egypt wants peace and to put an end to terrorism. Palestine also wants to resume relations with other Arab states and to end Arab-Arab tensions.
Palestine was furious when UAE, Bahrain and Sudan normalized ties with Israel. A 2002 Arab Summit initiative offered normalization after peace is reached and an independent Palestinian state is established. The meetings in Cairo included the Egyptian chief of intelligence, who has been hosting representatives from Hamas and Fatah this month to speed up reconciliation efforts, a step President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi believes is essential before negotiating for peace. Egypt is a key player in the Palestinian peace with Israel and reconciliation between Palestinian factions. President Abbas is here in Cairo to make sure that the two countries are on the same pages regarding all hanging issues before the US elected President Joe Biden starts working on that file.
The government of Uganda is calling on global leaders and citizens to rally for global solidarity to maintain essential HIV services during COVID-19 and beyond. It also says they should ensure continued provision of HIV services for children, adolescents, and populations most at risk for the disease. Correspondent Hilary Ayasiga reports COVID-19 is hampering Uganda's fight against HIV/AIDS.
Agnes Nakitende is a mother of 9 and HIV positive. She makes money from baking bricks, but it's not enough to access her life-saving drugs.
The nearest government health centre from here is 10 kilometres away. I can't afford transport to the health unit. I sometimes walk, but because of the distance, I reach late when they have closed.
And she's not alone in her struggles. Nachitende is among many people in this community who are struggling to make ends meet during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Uganda government introduced tough measures to curb the spread of COVID-19. They include, among others, social distancing in taxis, which forced the owners to hike transport fees. Health workers say the coronavirus and its effects have dealt a blow in the fight against HIV and AIDS.
You remember there was a lockdown, there was no public transport. Most of the services were closed apart from a few essential services. So because of that, access to HIV services was initially affected, again until government put measures in place to ensure that people seeking for HIV services would have to get permission to go and have refills.
Doctors say limited access to drugs resulted in some patients missing their dose for HIV treatment.
If you do not adhere to your treatment, your viral load can go up. When the viral load goes up, you fall sick as the first step, but also you are at risk of transmitting the infection to your sexual partner. So because of that, we think that COVID impacted, HIV services.
This is on top of the 1.4 million people living with the virus and an estimated annual death toll of 21,000. In order to improve the well-being of the affected people, the government has eased COVID-19 restrictions and also rolling out mobile clinics to rural areas.
Mozambique's parliament is urging the government to allocate more funds to tackle the HIV/AIDS epidemic in the week that marks World AIDS Day. The budget allocated to the epidemic has decreased yearly from nearly $3 million in 2015 to about $1.5 million this year. Mozambican legislators have warned that budget cuts will affect the fight against the disease. The legislators say more than 50,000 persons have died in the country as a result of the HIV disease in the past 5 years. Official data show Mozambique has more than 2 million persons living with HIV. A report by the Parliamentary Office to Combat HIV says contributing factors to an increase in infections include an increase in population mobility, the growing number of multiple marital partners. It also says the increase in new infections is swelled by a proliferation of mining truck drivers, gold miners, and increase in the number of sex workers. Mozambique has the 4th highest rate of HIV in the world after South Africa, Nigeria, and Russia. When we return, international news. UN warns of rising HIV infections as a result of COVID-19. And later, sport. Barcelona to hold presidential election January the 24th.
You are watching ANN. Where in the world, every second of the day, news is happening. And of course, Nigeria is bustling with news day and night. That is why ANN doesn't sleep. Our eyes are peeled, wide open, so no story escapes our radar. We stay abreast of world events and happenings at home. We keep you up to the minute in the world of sports. We give you information to stay on top of your investments and all the hard facts you'll need to navigate your day. If you miss us on air, you can keep up to date on our website and on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. We are ANN, African News Network. We do news right in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. A joint United Nations program on HIV/AIDS is citing new data that show the coronavirus pandemic's long-term impact and global HIV response could result in nearly 300,000 additional new HIV infections between now and 2022, and up to 148,000 more AIDS-related deaths. It is asking countries to adopt ambitious new targets to avoid hundreds of thousands of additional infections and deaths linked to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Before COVID-19, another virus had ravaged the world over. It was HIV and the disease it causes, AIDS. For decades, there has been an international effort to learn about the illness and how to prevent it. Now, the United Nations says there could be some major setbacks due to the latest global pandemic. Achim Steiner, the UN Development Program Administrator, says the coronavirus is now threatening to reverse this hard-won progress. The UN AIDS Program's annual report warns there could be an increase in HIV infections due to COVID-19. It also found 38 million people are living with HIV as of 2019. There were 1.7 million new infections last year, and the death toll in 2019 from AIDS-related illnesses reached 690,000. But it also highlighted some promising figures. The report found new HIV infections have dropped 40% since its peak in 1998. Deaths caused by AIDS-related illnesses dropped 23% since its 2004 peak, and 26 million people were accessing antiretroviral treatments as of June this year. Another UN AIDS report published earlier this year outlined other challenges that remain. It found new infections since 2010 decreased by 38% in Eastern and Southern Africa, the region hardest hit by HIV and AIDS. But it also found cases in Eastern Europe and Central Asia jumped 72% in that same period. Meaning despite massive efforts to stem the tide of HIV in Africa, it's cropping up elsewhere.
Germany is seeking an agreement with European Union countries to keep ski resorts closed until early January in an attempt to curb the spread of coronavirus. The COVID-19 shutdown in her country is already decimating the country's resorts. Correspondent Natalie Carney reports.
Snow has begun to fall on the mountain slopes of Germany's southern state of Bavaria. While preparations are still being made for what would be the opening of the regular ski season in a couple of weeks, the fact is they will be closed until the new year.
Bis jetzt ist es so, dass es geschlossen ist.
As of now, we are closed over Christmas through to the 10th of January. This is for us, of course, a catastrophe. From the economic side, in these 2 weeks of the holidays, it's a third of our winter turnover. Right now, we are making artificial snow for Christmas. We have to invest 20,000 euros to open the lifts. It is very difficult to say when we can open, but we have to do everything we can to ensure that we are prepared as soon as we are allowed to open, that we are ready to do it.
Vonklift sees between 300 to 400 guests on normal operating weekends, but this closure means their ski slopes, ski school, and ski rentals will be non-operational.
Wir befinden uns hier bei der Anmeldung der Skischule Ammertal.
We are here at the registration of the Ammertal Ski School. Normally there are around 70, 80 or 90 people standing here at 9 o'clock in the morning to register their children and teenagers for ski courses. Of course they all need material, for example skis or snowboards, and there are around 130 pairs of skis and 30 snowboards here.
Many other businesses in Bavaria's popular ski resort areas live off the tourism winter sports bring and argue that the ski slopes can be coronavirus safe.
Wir sind hier in der freien Natur.
We are here in open nature. We can keep socially distant, as we have a double chairlift between the two mountains. You see, we have the distance. Plus, there is always a distance of 1.5 to 2 meters. When they are waiting, they are wearing masks.
Not only are these ski resorts hit by COVID restrictions, but also climate change. State compensation will be based on the income these ski resorts made during the same period last winter when there wasn't much snow.
The Geiskopfbahn ski slopes in the Bavarian forest say 30% of its winter revenue will be affected by these closures.
December, you could apply for 75% of turnover from December last year. The issue we have here is that last year, for example, we had a very bad winter, an exceptionally bad winter. So if you would kind of calculate the reimbursement based on last year, it would be almost zero. So that doesn't help.
Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte has joined his German counterpart in calling for all European ski resorts to close, but Austria has already rejected the idea, with Chancellor Sebastian Kurz saying that skiing is part of his country's national identity. His government has, however, forbidden all resort after-parties.
Up next, sports. Barcelona to hold presidential election January the 24th. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN. Somewhere in the world, every second of the day, news is happening. And of course, Nigeria is bustling with news day and night. That is why ANN doesn't sleep. Our eyes are peeled, wide open, so no story escapes our radar. We stay abreast of world events and happenings at home. We keep you up to the minute in the world of sports. We give you information to stay on top of your investments and all the hard facts you'll need to navigate your day. If you miss us on air, you can keep up to date on our website and on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. We are ANN, Africa News Network. We do news right in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News in sport. For the first time, Borussia Dortmund will play without right-back Thomas Müller for Wednesday's Champions League tie at home to Lazio. Dortmund is a point ahead of second place to Lazio, and victory a signal Iduna Park would guarantee either club a place in the last 16. A draw would also put both clubs through if Brugge failed to beat Zenit at Petersburg. 29-year-old Müller had started all of Dortmund's matches this season, but the Belgium international misses out this time with a calf injury. Barcelona will hold elections for a new president in January after former chief Josep Maria Bartomeu resigned in August. Bartomeu stepped down after the Catalan giant had been unsettled by a transfer request from their star player Lionel Messi. One of the front runners, Joan Laporta, has already announced he will run for the office. Potential candidates must collect 2,257 support signatures for the list to be drawn up in mid-December and made official by the end of the month. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatuji. Have a pleasant evening.